Before we even look at the data, I want you to tell me what you think a myth is. When I say that word, what comes to mind?
Ancient Greece, I suppose. Zeus throwing lightning bolts. Or maybe Viking sagas, stories that people used to believe in to explain the weather. Or why the sun rises. But we have moved past that. We have science now. We don't need myths to tell us how the world works.
That is the common arrogance of the modern age. We think we have outgrown the need for narrative structure because we have Wikipedia. But look around you. Look at the fanaticism at a Comic-Con. Look at the absolute devotion people. Half to the lore of One Piece or the intricate power systems of Jujutsu Kaisen.
That is fandom, not religion. People enjoying a story isn't the same as believing that Thor is going to strike them down if they break an oath.
Is it different? Functionally, biologically, is it different? A myth isn't just a lie about the weather. A myth is a tool. It is a container for ordering reality. It reduces the chaos of the world into a coherent line of cause and effect. And my argument today is simple. We haven't stopped worshiping. We just swapped the stone tablets for weekly serialization.
You are saying Manga is the new Bible. That feels like a stretch. One is Holy Scripture. The other is entertainment printed on cheap paper.
Paper is paper. The substrate doesn't matter. The function matters. And to understand that function, we have to stop looking at art and start looking at physics. Let's open the file. We need to look at the energy cost of believing. Page 1.
The thermodynamic cost of belief. And you have quoted Landauer's limit here. Minimum energy to erase 1 bit.
The brain is an engine. It burns calories to process information. Now, look at the world around you. It is chaotic. It is random. A stock market crash, a pandemic, a sudden breakup. That is high entropy. Processing that raw reality is metabolically expensive.
It is stressful. I get that.
It is not just stress. It is thermodynamic friction. The brain is constantly trying to reduce this Shannon entropy, this uncertainty. It seeks negentropy, information that creates order. For thousands of years, religion provided that. Why did the crop fail? Because God is angry. Boom. Order restored. Energy saved.
So religion was an energy-saving device, a way to stop the brain from overheating with unanswerable questions.
Exactly. It creates a closed loop of logic. Now, look at the modern world. Traditional religion is fading, but the chaos, the entropy, is higher than ever. Where does the brain go to find that order? Where can it find a world where effort always leads to victory? Where friendship always conquers evil? And where the rules of magic are consistent?
You are implying we go to fiction, to manga.
We go to the one place where the laws of physics, or narrative physics, are guaranteed. We are not reading for fun. We are reading to lower our metabolic rate. We are reading to survive the chaos.
That makes it sound like a drug, a sedative for a chaotic life.
Or a shelter. But let's look at the scale of this migration, because it is a mass migration. Turn to page 2.
The blue pill, content consumption. The charts here show a divergence. Manga sales greater than comic books, and the growth delta is massive.
Look at the ticker tape at the bottom of the slide. Bitcoin is fluctuating. Apple is moving. The real economy is volatile. It is a source of anxiety. But look at the Manga Engagement Index. It is a straight line up.
US manga sales up 160%. That is a huge jump. But isn't that just because anime got popular on Netflix?
That is the surface explanation. That is the blue pill. The red pill is that people are opting out of the real-world narrative because it has become too expensive to process. the complexity of modern geopolitics, the nuance of modern relationships. It is too much noise.
So we retreat to a simpler world.
We retreat to a structured world. In the slide, I call it information transfer efficiency. Novels are too slow. Movies are too passive. Manga is the perfect speed. It allows you to ingest a massive amount of narrative order in seconds.
You call it the blue pill, referencing the Matrix. That implies it is a fake reality.
It is a curated reality, but to the brain, the distinction is irrelevant. If the neural firing patterns stabilize, the anxiety drops. We are witnessing a species-level shift in where we anchor our sense of stability. We used to anchor it in the village church. Now, we anchor it in the release schedule of Shonen Jump.
But surely, the brain knows the difference. Reading a comic book doesn't feel the same as reading a holy text or a dense novel. It feels lighter.
Lighter is the perfect word, and we can measure that lightness. It is not a feeling, it is neurology. Go to page 3.
Hardware, the visual grammar. We have a brain scan here. One side looks angry and red. The other is cool blue.
This is the difference between high friction, text processing, and low friction, visual narrative.
The slide mentions the N400 effect.
The N400 is a brainwave spike that happens when you encounter something that doesn't make sense. A semantic error. It is the brain saying, "Wait, what?" It breaks your flow. It costs energy.
And manga doesn't trigger this.
Neil Cohn's research on visual narrative grammar shows that seasoned manga readers process these images with a specific, optimized syntax. They don't look at the page, they scan it. The saccadic movements, the eye jumps, are shorter and more efficient.
Low metabolic cost. So the brain processes manga almost like a language it is fluent in.
Better than language, it is a direct injection of meaning. When you read text, you have to decode the symbols into sounds, then into meaning. It is a multi-step process. High friction, manga bypasses that. You see the speed lines, and you instantly understand motion. You see the sweat drop, and you instantly understand embarrassment.
Those symbols, the sweat drops, the popping veins, they are like hieroglyphics.
Exactly. They are the liturgy of this religion. They are standardized symbols that convey complex emotional states instantly. This reduces the prediction error in the brain. You never have to guess what a character is feeling in a manga. It is drawn right on their face.
That explains why it is relaxing. You don't have to decipher the subtext like you do in a literary novel.
Precisely. In the real world, you never know if someone is actually angry or just tired. That is high entropy. In manga, if they are angry, there is a literal fire burning in their eyes. Zero ambiguity, zero entropy. It is a low entropy communication protocol.
Okay, so it is efficient. But a myth needs more than just efficiency. It needs a community. It needs to bind people together. Religion builds congregations. Manga just creates lonely readers in their bedrooms.
Does it? Or does it create a different kind of congregation? Let's look at the software running on this hardware. Page 4.
Software, the coalitional algorithm. This silhouette, it looks like a typical shonen protagonist. Spiky hair, big sword, and the text says, fitness interdependence.
This is the core of the mythology. What is the central theme of almost every hit manga? One Piece, Naruto, My Hero Academia.
Friendship, nakama. The idea that you can't do it alone.
Nakama. It is a word that translates poorly to English. It means more than friend. It means coalition. It means people who share my destiny. Evolutionary psychology tells us that humans are obligate gregarious. We die if we are alone.
So we crave tribes.
We crave fitness, interdependence. My survival depends on your survival. In the modern world, this is broken. You can work in a cubicle for 20 years and never truly rely on your neighbor for your life. We are atomized.
We are lonely.
We are dangerously lonely. So, what does Manga provide? It provides a simulation of the coalitional algorithm. When Luffy screams, "I will become the Pirate King," and his crew rallies around him, your brain lights up. It recognizes that ancient signal. This is a tribe. This is safety.
The slide calls it super stimuli.
It is a hyper-real version of friendship. Real friendship is messy. Real friends betray you. Real friends borrow money and don't pay it back. But in Manga, the loyalty is absolute. Zoro will never betray Luffy. That absolute certainty activates the social cognition centers of the brain without the risk.
Signaling loyalty without the risk of physical conflict. So we get the feeling of belonging to a war band, but we are just sitting on the couch.
It is a phantom limb sensation. We are feeling the ghost of the tribe we lost. And just like religious myths used to recruit people for holy wars, these modern myths recruit people into a shared moral universe.
A moral universe? You mean like the hero's journey?
Deeper, I mean the reduction of moral entropy. Turn to page 5.
The source code, the Negentropy. This is a fascinating visual, a stone tablet morphing into a manga page.
Look at the equation in the background. S equals K log W. That is the Boltzmann formula for entropy, but it is also the formula for information.
Shannon information.
A stone tablet, the 10 Commandments, the Code of Hammurabi, was a technology. It reduced social uncertainty. Thou shalt not kill. Okay, now I know the rules. Entropy goes down.
And you are saying Manga does the same thing.
Look at the structure of a Manga narrative. It is incredibly rigid. Good vs. evil. Effort leads to growth. If you break the rules, you are punished. If you protect your friends, you are rewarded.
It is very karmic.
It is a reversible manifold. In the slide, I mentioned that Manga operates as a reversible system. You can trace the logic backward and forward. In the real world, bad things happen to good people. That is high entropy. It makes no sense.
But in Manga, if the hero loses, it is because he wasn't strong enough yet. He needs a training arc.
Exactly. The training arc is the ultimate theological argument of Manga. It says, suffering is not random. Suffering is just preparation for power. That is a profoundly religious idea. It gives meaning to pain.
So when a kid reads about the hero getting beaten up and then training to win, they are learning a theology of resilience.
They are installing a code script. Just like DNA codes for biological order, these stories code for psychological order. They tell the brain, keep going. There is a logic to this universe.
But there is a catch, isn't there? You mentioned earlier that this is a blue pill. If we spend all our time in this perfect, ordered, high-stakes world, how do we deal with the boring, messy, low-stakes reality?
That is the glitch, and it is a massive one. We are seeing the side effects of this super stimulus right now. Page 6.
The glitch, the herbivore paradox. This is about the herbivore men in Japan, the decline in relationships.
The Sashoku Danshi. Men who have no interest in flesh and blood women or corporate ambition.
The stats are staggering. 1 in 3 men in their 30s are single. Reproductive inertia.
Why? The mainstream view says it is economics. They don't have money, but look at the lens of entropy. Real relationships are high entropy.
They are unpredictable. They are messy. You can get rejected.
Real corporate careers are high entropy. You can work hard and still get fired. The old myth, the myth of the salaryman, the provider, has collapsed. It no longer guarantees a reward.
So the contract is broken.
The mythos failed. So what happens? You have a generation that looks at the high-friction reality of dating and working, and then looks at the low-friction, high-reward world of manga and anime.
And they choose the simulation.
The slide says, the brain cannot distinguish the cheap dopamine of narrative simulation from the expensive dopamine of real courtship.
That is terrifying. You are saying we are hacking our own reproductive drive.
We are satisfying the drive with a phantom. If you can get the feeling of love from a tsundere character who will never reject you, and the feeling of achievement from watching a hero save the world, why risk the pain of reality?
Placebo effect detected. We are taking a placebo for life itself.
It is a rational choice for the individual brain, minimizing energy cost, maximizing reward. But for the species, it is fatal. It is the end of the line.
So this modern mythology is a trap. It gives us order, but it takes away our future.
It protects us from the present, but it might cost us the future. Or maybe it is simply a transition, a cocoon.
A cocoon.
Maybe we aren't just hiding. Maybe we are optimizing. Let's look at the final possibility. Page 7.
The horizon, active inference. This looks like a cyberpunk city, but it is made of data. We are not dying, we are optimizing.
The brain is a prediction machine. Its goal is to minimize free energy, to minimize the difference between what it expects and what it encounters.
Okay.
When the real world becomes too complex, too surprising, the brain has two choices. 1, change the world. That is hard. 2, change the input.
By retreating into fiction.
By tuning the internal model. The slide mentions active inference. We aren't just passively consuming these stories. We are using them to calibrate our internal compass.
You mean like a flight simulator? We practice in the manga world, so we can fly in the real world.
Hopefully, that is the optimistic view. We use the perfect order of the myth to stabilize our minds, so we have the resilience to face the entropy of reality.
System maintenance.
Exactly. We are defragging the hard drive. We dip into the world of one piece to remember what loyalty feels like, so we can try to build it in the real world. We dip into Dragon Ball to remember what effort looks like.
So it is not an escape. It is a refueling station.
It is the temple. We go to the temple to remember the truth that the chaotic world tries to make us forget. The truth that structure matters, that connection matters, that meaning exists.
That is a much more hopeful ending than the extinction of the species.
It is the only way forward. We cannot destroy the entropy of the modern world. It is too vast, but we can build dissipative structures, sanctuaries of order, inside our own heads.
And those sanctuaries are built out of ink and paper.
They are built out of belief. Whether it is Gilgamesh or Goku, the human need is the same. We need a story that tells us the chaos can be defeated.
I guess I shouldn't feel so guilty about reading my weekly chapters then.
Guilty. You are performing a sacred ritual of entropy reduction. Keep reading. The universe isn't getting any more organized on its own.
I'll meet myself